wish to call to order this work session of the Monroe County Board of Commissioners. It's November the 8th. All three commissioners are present in the Nat U Hill Room. And I believe we have an item to add to the agenda as well. Do we need we don't need a motion to add an item, right?
No, I think when I present it, if you feel like, I'm going to request you vote on it, so you would then do a motion to approve.
Okay, thank you. So the first item is for vet environmental engineering regarding the Thompson site. Mr. Cockrell, what do you have for us?
Yes, we got this proposal from Vet Environmental Engineering October 27th. I received that. I forwarded it to DLZ to see if it was going to be something that they would find useful and helpful. They replied and said it would be extremely helpful to have this information. And then I later learned that this wetlands and jurisdictional water delineation work has to be done prior to all the leaves falling from the trees. Otherwise, it becomes difficult to figure out where the jurisdictional water delineation will occur. And so they asked for and criticized me if what I did was inappropriate. They said they could do it yesterday and Monday and Tuesday. Otherwise, it would have to wait till spring, potentially. And so I said, go ahead and do it Monday and Tuesday, but I will put it on the commissioner's work session agenda for approval. And then hopefully you guys do approve it so that I am not out there. But it's work that needed to be done. It's work that our consultants said would be helpful when they're doing the overview and review of the Thompson site for whether or not it is appropriate or how it is appropriate for whatever we want to use it for.
So you didn't want to get out there with a big rake and take care of things? No, I did not. It's okay.
It's
So we do have a fund number, fund name and amount and things like that as well to go with this. And I've read through the phase 1 on this, and I agree that phase 2 is very appropriate. So do I have a motion on this?
I move approval of the agreement with Vet Engineering regarding the wetland and jurisdictional waters delineation and karst assessment. The fund number is 4816.
Yes.
2022 BAM capital not to exceed $11,577.51.
Second.
And is there any further discussion on this?
Just for the public's edification, we're looking for DLZ to give us their assessment of the Thompson site by the end of the year. Is that still on track?
Yeah, I think that would be aspirational. I think a lot of it depends on the timing of this, but again, the fact that they've already been on site and done things makes me think we could get that. They may have information prior to the end of the year, but it certainly wouldn't be complete until they had all this.
Right. Thank you.
Well, and please remind me, I would like to give an update on jail status. I meant to do that during our regular meeting. But, there's not much beyond, there's actually really nothing beyond what we shared last week, but sometimes there's brand new people listening. So is there any discussion from you on the vet phase 2? Contract. Is there any public comment on this since we're voting on it today? Seeing none, I'll call for a vote on the agreement with Vet Engineering regarding the wetland and jurisdictional waters delineation and karst assessment at the Thompson site. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion passes 3-0. Next item.
Yeah, and just to kind of piggyback on that, I have recently received the phase 2 environmental contract, and so I plan to put that on your agenda next week for the Thompson site. I think we did the phase 2 and I got this a little mixed up too. We did the phase 2 for the item associated with what I'm about to present, which is the IRA property. We did that. We expect to have that back next week, but I wanted to just make it clear that this isn't the phase 2, but it's coming. And again, the phase 1 indicated that there was an old railroad line that needed some additional look at. And so we'll get that on your agenda for next week. But the other item I have is a memorandum of understanding with the Indiana Recovery Alliance. As I'm sure you all remember, we got awarded a state grant of which 350,000 of that state grant was to be used towards the purchase of a site and a building for their operations. And so this, with the they have identified a site, and with the expectation that the phase 2 will be back next week. That is the last, other than this agreement, that's the last hurdle before they can close on that property. And they're really wanting to close on that property as soon as possible. And so this is the agreement that provides the safeguards that we requested, and basically the exhibit to this is the grant agreement. So they are assuring us they've read the grant agreement, that they can comply with all the reporting requirements, and that they'll work with us through that. A couple of things that have been recent, or one thing I know that's been recently added is that they were asking about the local match out of the opioid settlement fund. So in this document, it says that you will request, and this is, I believe, on the agenda for the council next Tuesday, that you will request an additional appropriation of at least $200,000 from the county's opioid fund for additional funds for this project. And so I put that at least in there because I know there is some uncertainty, because the other component of this is a van for their mobile crisis work. I think the cost of the van they anticipate it to be higher than what they put in the grant agreement. So I left it as you'll request at least a $200,000, which was for the actual building and property portion of this.
Very good.
And I've worked with their attorney. He hasn't given a final review of this, so I would ask that you approve it, and then we would bring it back next week to ratify. And if there is a change made based upon his review, we would certainly highlight that at the ratification and ask for that to be amended then.
Okay. I have tried to read through this very quickly, but first I'll turn to my colleagues. Any questions or comments?
No, I don't.
I don't. I also don't have the document in front of me, so someone else will have to make the motion.
I also don't have attachment or exhibit A with me.
Thank you.
Sorry.
I left it on the table. I was reading it.
I was going to say,
It's fine.
Thank you.
And the attachment is, my understanding is grant.
The
Yeah,
attachment's the grant agreement.
Scope of work also.
It is the actual grant agreement. In the back it is.
And the project description is pulled straight from the grant agreement, so that's
Good.
what's in there.
And we need to do this today. We need to vote on this today?
If you're comfortable, again, if you're not comfortable, do not vote on it, but if you're comfortable, that way they would have the ability to work out a closing date for the purchase of the property. They will not do it before the phase 2 is complete. But I expect to have the phase 2 by the 17th of November, and I think they're going to want to close pretty quickly after that.
Right.
Is there, I don't remember seeing in this document that we're waiting on the phase 2 before they can set a closing date.
I think for clarifications, and maybe this is something, is this document specific to the purchase of the property, or is this specific to the grant itself?
It's specifically for the grant.
That's what I
Okay.
thought.
So we don't need to have that?
You don't need
Okay, I'm just asking.
Okay, and I will point out that there is a stipulation, a deed restriction that indicates that the Indiana Recovery Alliance could not sell the property prior to January 1st of 2029 without county approval. And I think
Correct.
that's important to note in there, that we're not just blithely handing over money, but I also, having worked with people at the Indiana Recovery Alliance, I know how passionate they are about doing this work, and I do support this MOU. So,
So I'm gonna go ahead and make a motion to approve memorandum of understanding between Monroe County and the Indiana Recovery Alliance.
Second.
thank you. Is there any other discussion on this item? Is there any public discussion on this item? Ms. Purdy, did you want to say anything else? I noticed you tapped your mic. Okay, sorry, just trying to be sensitive here to what's going on. Okay, seeing no other discussion, I'll call for a vote on the memorandum of understanding between Monroe County and the Indiana Recovery Alliance for the grant specifically. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion passes 3-0, and we will bring this back next week for ratification. Just as an update on the jail, once again, I want to stress the fact that we have not made a firm decision on Thompson as the location for the jail, that we are still waiting for this wetlands and jurisdictional water delineation and karst assessment. We are still waiting to get a phase 2 environmental. The geotechnical was so difficult for me to understand that we will need input from authorities to really dig through that. We will need, even if we try to move forward with Thompson, if we decide that that's a viable place, we will still need things like rezone from the city to make it possible. And I think last week at the meeting that we had that Jeff McKim pointed out something important, that because we would not be able to access this location from Rogers Road, that it would not hopefully impact people in the Broadview neighborhood. So hopefully that will allay some of their concerns as well. Do you have other things to add to that, Commissioner Jones or Commissioner Thomas?
No, I don't. I think that's a good synopsis.
I don't want to bore people with it, but I do want to repeat the fact that we have not yet made a decision, and that decision will be made not solely by us, because we will have input from especially our colleagues on the county council. We also have not made a decision on co-location yet, which also is important to go along with this. Okay, well, with that, we will adjourn this work session, and we will be back here next week. Thank you, everyone, for your time and attention.